Hello to my amazing YouTube family, to my friends, to my galactic shamans and star seeds. I'm just chilling on my couch right now. But I had a thought, and I thought that I would just share it with you guys because I think it's pretty cool. So, the first thing I want to say is that if you're someone who is super fearful, super afraid of speaking your truth, or even saying no to someone, this will usually indicate that you are heavily, heavily programmed. When I say you're heavily programmed, it means that there is malware and there are viruses and etheric implants in your body, and that's a metaphor because it's all energy, that are keeping you under the dominion or under the governance of energies that are non visible. Now, as we know, or perhaps you don't know, but energies have a tendency to work through people. So a lot of what we feel with our friends or our foes or whatever, it goes way beyond the visible light spectrum. There are other energies that can be governing your reality. So if you're someone who is too afraid to say no, or speak your truth to the extent where you feel like you're living in a prison and you're silenced, then that's heavy, heavy, heavy programming. All right? It's important that you understand this because who you are, your divine spark, your golden spark, your rainbow spark, is that you don't hold back. Who you are is that you live in your full soul's expression, and you are here to embrace the unique expression of God as God incarnate, as Source incarnate. So that's case number one. Now, case number two is if you qualified as an empath. So an empath is someone that cares too much. They're awake and they're aware. I used to be an extreme case of an empath when I awakened because what happens is when you first awaken, your higher mind comes online. So you're woke, right? You can see everything, but what that is your consciousness elevating itself or reaching an ascended state. It doesn't mean that your physical body has, though. So in the beginning stages of our ascension or our kundalini rising or anything near-death experience that might have, catalyzed your awakening, in the beginning of that, you're going to see everything. You may feel euphoria. You may feel that bliss charge, but your physicality hasn't undergone the DNA changes yet. So there's almost like a gap between what you've achieved consciousness-wise and what your body still needs to achieve. So an empath to me is someone who will feel all of the vibrations in the room. And I know how that feels because it was very painful for me. And at the time I was a personal trainer and I would train people, and whenever they would lift their weight, I could feel them like almost like a hand going into my stomach and twisting it and pulling my energy. Like it was very painful. And there's a reason why we have to go through that so we can understand where we're still shortchanging ourselves, where we're not valuing ourselves. At the time when I was a trainer, I would let people cancel on me and never charge them. And I'd be standing around in the gym like, but I thought that that was the kind thing to do. I was foolish, right? And when I started being willing to sacrifice the money and say I'm done disrespecting myself, well, that's when I started healing my empathy. And I'm not saying that empathy needs to be healed, but if you empaths are watching right now, you understand that it's a gift and a curse, and that we cannot live our entire lives absorbing other people's energies. That's just not being kind to ourselves. And I am a firm believer that when you learn how to love yourself properly, you stop taking on people's energies because you become embodied, you become integrated. And you no longer are responsible for what other people should be responsible for. In other words, you don't overly involve yourself in other people's journeys. You're here if they need anything, but you're going to keep everything at arm's length, and not in a mean way or in a way where you're protecting yourself. In a way, you're kind of protecting yourself, but it's more like you're not going to interfere with what God or source is trying to do with that person, right? And a lot of times we go into enabling people. Yeah, sure, cancel on me and I'll just eat it. And it's like, no, that's not my job. Isn't to save you. My job is to honor myself. So usually an empath will feel they'll be brave enough to start saying no and to assert themselves, which is fantastic, by the way. But the empath will usually feel like, should I have said anything at all? Could I have worded it better? How are they taking it? So you'll still feel them. There's a cord connecting you. And there's a reason why that is because whoever you're speaking your truth to or saying no to is a mirror to you not having spoken your truth in the past, meaning you've accrued karmic debt. And because you're now stepping onto your path of truth, they may judge you for it. So that's very important. The reason why we feel everything as an empath is because we're attracting people who are still, in a way, governing us. Not so much that we're not going to speak at all, like in case one, but there are still debris of energies or traces of energies or programming that are making us care too much or making us question ourselves or doubt ourselves. So that would qualify, that would be case number 2, and you would qualify as an empath. Now, I'm a firm believer that empaths turn into telepaths and clairvoyants. So, and I can speak for myself, just out of my own experience. Now, a lot of what I share now, I saw all of this in 2011 when I awakened. The difference is my body hadn't gone through the transformation. So I was still picking up on other people's energies. I still had belief systems that were still rooted in lack. I still had karmic debt that I had to neutralize, if you will, because the entire physical structure has to rebundle itself. Your DNA has to rewire itself to become a match to what you're now experiencing at a consciousness level. So if you've awakened and you've had all these visions, which I had too, I had so many prophetic visions when I awakened. And so much of what I share now still is very pertinent to what I experienced back then. The difference now is that the actual programming isn't in my body as much. We're always going to have traces of programming, but I don't feel programmed. I feel like I'm very alert of everything that's going on. I'm very aware of the thoughts that crowd into my awareness, and I don't just shake their hands. If I'm afraid of something, I'm going to look at it in the face and ban that fear. I'm going to banish that fear. So case number 1 was, and I hope you're enjoying this video because I'm really just like sharing whatever's on my mind. So case number 1 was you're so programmed and so unconscious that you're still very much under the governance of the 3D time-space reality. You don't have a say because you're running so many programs that they're kind of like running the show. They are running the show. So your reality is being chosen for you. Your experiences are being dictated for you. You don't really have a choice because you're manifesting by default through your unconscious mind. Case number 2, and interestingly enough, I can say now that case number 2 is kind of like 4D. And case number 1, this is pretty cool. So case number 1 is like 3D. Case number 2 is like 4D. Because you're still in that process of alchemizing the non-physical with the physical. The thought with the emotion, the electric with the magnetic, the sun with the moon, the king with the queen, and so forth and so forth, the light with the dark, because we have to integrate both. They're just different expressions of the same thing. So case number 2 would, definitely be classified as 4D. Now, if we now shift into case number 3, if you've reached case number 3, you've either reached it or you were born that way, so you were a starseed and you always spoke your truth. It's very rare that you'll find people in our age age range that were born like just speaking their truth, without any qualms, without any hesitation or reservation. Those are usually going to be the rainbow children who are coming in now. They don't have to endure all the suffering that we endured. So they just come in very clean. Boom, this is what it is. Like they don't even think twice. There's no lag. They don't have to think before they share. It's just, this is who I am. I'm living my truth. So most of you watching this video right now are either born in the 90s or 80s, maybe 2000s, but you've probably graduated from case number 1 and case number 2, and you now find yourself having no problem speaking your truth. Like for me, when I say no to someone, I don't have to think about it. It's my truth. And I don't even feel them anymore. You see, in case number 2, we still care too much. And we care too much because we're afraid of being judged. And we can only be afraid of being judged if we're still blaming ourselves or judging ourselves. In case number 3, you've already kind of moved beyond those confines of the 3D and 4D mind, and you've become more integrated as a human being. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not psychic anymore. I can speak my truth and then I can see a bunch of things, but I'm not going to take that on. I'm not going to pick that up. I'm not going to scoop it up and put it in my body. Whereas in case number 2, when I was an extreme case of an empath, I would feel everything, and I would feel so dirty, like I'd have to go shower or pray to cleanse myself again. I would call it the spiritual car wash, and I would call upon Archangel Raphael, Michael to help me, and they always made it very clear. They always iterated that, like, Phil, we need you to learn what we know. We don't want you to constantly rely on us to cleanse you. We are trying to show you how to not let yourself be bullied. We are trying to show you how to respect yourself and value yourself. So that was a very important lesson for me. When I first awakened, I will say that Michael was my main guide, and he taught me how to slay those demons. He taught me how to slay, even though there are no demons, that's a metaphor for, he taught me how to slay those limiting beliefs that I had, to really like uproot them out of my system and throw them in the trash bin. Because who we really are is that we are divine beings of love and light. We are universal beings of love and light. And nothing should ever make us think twice about being who we are. That doesn't mean like let it be a shit show where you are reckless and you hurt people. That's not what it's about. It's about living from your heart as an integrated being, where you're honoring yourself, but you've learned how to communicate in a healthy way with with an active and healthy, balanced throat chakra, and you're gonna honor yourself without necessarily offending someone. You're just valuing yourself. That's all it is. So in case number 3, you would, again, have no qualms about sharing your truth. Because if you don't, this is just coming to me now, if you don't speak your truth, then you're in a way regressing. And you can't, as you guys know, because so many of you are awake, you wouldn't be on my channel if you weren't. Once you awaken, there's no turning back. So once you learn a lesson, you're like, I'm not going to go back there because I've already learned that. I've already graduated from that lesson. So you have a duty to speak your truth in case number 3, because you can't live in a way that would contaminate your soul anymore. You just don't, it doesn't bode anymore. That way of life doesn't bode. You don't accept less. You truly, truly value yourself, and you take a stance, and you're honorable towards your values. You're honorable towards your higher self and you as your higher self. So in case number 3, you've probably graduated and you've overcome a lot of trials and tribulations, and you're now owning who you are. And it's almost like you don't have to be brave to speak your truth anymore because you don't think twice. It's just, it becomes your way of life. And you also understand when you're vibrating at that rate, that you're helping that person no matter how they react to it. You're helping them because by honoring yourself, you're giving them a chance to grow as well. And that's why I say it's like a duty. You become like an emissary of light. You become an ambassador or a guardian of the universe. So why would you ever, backpedal and go back to your old ways? You just don't. So if you find that you can speak your truth and you're unfazed by other people's reactions, and again, I'm not sharing this in a way where you would like trample all over people and be reckless and hurt people. This is not what I'm suggesting at all. I'm just saying that it's your duty to speak your truth. You don't even think twice. There's not that filter like there used to be. Then you're case number 3. And I don't know what I would call it. I guess you would call that 5D. You're a fifth dimensional being and beyond. And you've become multidimensional in your ability to perceive realities and so forth. You become multidimensional. So I don't know why I did. I just literally flicked on my camera. I was like, let's just see what happens. I'm glad I did this, you guys. And I hope it helps you. And know that if you're case number 1 or case number 2 or case number 3, because the case number 3s are still evolving. We're always learning, right? We're always the apprentices. We're always the students of life. So you're always elevating yourself, but you may not deal with that heavy programming that stems back to the 3D and the control structures. That's all. But if you're in case number 1 or case number 2, know that you are loved. You're doing an amazing job, and never subjugate yourself to or inferiorize yourself and put other people on a pedestal, because that's not going to work in your favor. I promise you, it will not. It's a recipe for bondage. It's a recipe for having someone be above you. There is no above, no below. We're all equal. All of us are equal. So when you speak, mean it. Be who you are. Everyone is your equal. It doesn't matter if it's Oprah. It doesn't matter if it's a celebrity. Everyone is your equal. Everyone. All right. I hope this helps you guys. And thank you in advance for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, you can click right below. And thank you for your comments. I really appreciate all of you so much. Much love.